All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around on the stream. I really appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed the brilliant commentary provided by Matt and Brendan there.
Thank you, thank you.
And you guys have a great time.
And Yasby, thank you for the great attempt trying to keep the comments going on the stream. That's what we need when we got a stream that's as powerful as this pro level game.
And we hope you guys come back tomorrow, where the winner of this match, Steve Lohr, will be taking on LSV in the semis, and it's going to be a good game.
I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a big strategy for that, and I'm hoping it really pays off. You know, I've invested a lot of time and practice into working with with the deck that I got, the mono red, and I really need to just stick to it and maintain my game.
But the question that viewers want to know isn't how much time you spent practicing with the deck; it's how much money you've invested into buying the Tarmogoyfs and etc.
Oh man, I've got all the Tarmogoyfs. I saved up really big. I wanted to make sure I had my player set and my backup player set, as well as like my casual player set. Because sometimes you don't want to use your real set when you're playing a casual game with your friends. You want to make sure you got that slightly less than valuable set. Because I really only have the 4 foil ones from Modern Masters, specifically 4 when I'm playing in the event. You don't want to use those when you're just playing around with your buddies at the kitchen table, because they all have spending limits. They can't afford to play against those cards.
Now you have the Japanese foils, is that correct?
That is correct. I ordered 63 boxes of Modern Masters straight from Japan. I went through all the boxes, shredding up all the cards that I didn't find value in, and I had to make sure that I had Tarmogoyfs. I got a bunch of Bobs. I mean, those things went straight into the shredder because that card is just bad. Who wants to lose life to get cards? I mean, Tarmogoyf is exactly where it's at. In foil and Japanese, that's exactly what you want.
And that's the right call. And I like the fact that you brought up Bob, because a lot of people are going into this event thinking Bob's really good, and you're explaining to them that losing life is not good. And we look at the best card in the format right now, Sphinx of Revelation. What does it do? It gives you life.
Exactly, and that's how you want to win. See, everybody's got this weird thing where they think, the lower life total, the more the cards, that they need card advantage. Card advantage is having a card on the field that's just more powerful than your opponent and having the highest life total in the game, because that's how you win the game. I've proven time and time again playing the game. My life total is higher than my opponent's when he's dead, and therefore, that's how you win Magic.
And that's why you were so happy to see Thragtusk get printed, is that correct?
Exactly. Thragtusk gives you both of those options. He gives you the body on the field, and he gives you that huge enhancement to your life total. Those are the most 2 important parts of Thragtusk right there.
And I think you're completely right. Now, how about the fact that it's working with Restoration Angel to do it twice?
Well, I mean, that's a nice extra. I mean, but just getting a 5/3 for 5, with 5 life, I mean, the Restoration Angel is a nice touch, but really, what value do you get in Restoration Angel? I mean, you just get a 3/4 for 4, and that's a lot of mana. You could instead be getting equal power to mana cost ratio, and that's what the game is about. It's about getting those equal ratios. When I build my decks, that's what I aim for. I aim for equal ratio.
So that's why you love the idea of, say, the Hayfair deck running nothing but 2/2s.
Exactly, because you're going to get your value every time. You want to get that value. That's why I like Elves. Elves, you're always getting that value. You're always paying the exact mana you want for exactly the power and toughness that you expect to get. And you don't get that kind of value with other things. You can't get that. And then they grow when they're next to each other.
Now, how do you feel about getting, say, a 2/2 with haste for 1 red mana?
Now that card is just... You're giving away opponent lands to your opponents, and that can be a huge disadvantage because lands are exactly where it's at as well. You got to have those lands. It's crucial that you make sure you play as many of the lands as you can. And if you're giving your opponent those lands, you are basically just giving your opponent the game. It's all about the race, and you're not going to get the race if you don't have the 2/2s. Or if you have a 2/2 that passes away the win.
And I think you're right. How important is it to get 2 damage in on turn 1? I just don't see it. I would rather go Mountain Bolt you to the face, main face, because they're not going to have mana to counter it, and it's just 3 to their face instead of 2.
Exactly. There's no way to stop that 3 damage, especially if you haven't let them drop a land. You know, you respond at the beginning of their upkeep. You just take the damage straight off their face. That really trains a player how to feel fear, because a lot of these players, they don't understand fear, but when you throw that damage at them, they learn the fear of God.
I agree completely. I mean, like, that goblin is really just a variant Savannah Lions. Did they really think that haste was going to do anything for Savannah Lions to make it better? No, it doesn't.
I mean, I'd rather see Jackal Pup. That's just me. I'm a classic. I'm sorry.
Now, Jackal Pup, there was your value. You had something that you could get in with, and nobody was going to block it because he had the 2 power, and so you didn't have to worry about losing any life from that. You knew every turn you were going to get in for 2, and you could just blast things away if they got in the way of your Jackal Pup. 5 damage to a 2/2, that's what you need to make sure your Jackal Pup gets right in there for that solid 2 damage to kill off your opponent.
And I agree. I think that was a really solid card.
Well, I'm glad we can agree on the important parts of of deck construction and the important parts of how to make sure we're playing the game properly. Because when it comes down to it, there's so many players out there that just don't understand this game. They want that life total loss. They want all those cards, and those cards just don't get you anything in the end.
Well, that's going to be cool. They hear somebody go Jace, 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 and they're like, well, Jace, 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 Jace. They don't even understand who Jace is. They don't understand his backstory. He's nowhere near going to be as good as Chandra. Do you know what her backstory is? Now, that's a Planeswalker. I'm sorry.
And she's got that fiery red hair, so you know that, once you slam down that card, after you win, she's going to take you in the back room, and she's going to give you everything. You're not going to get the same, well, you might get the same kind of action out of Jace, but there's no red hair there, and that's really where the value comes in. You got to have a redhead. You don't want one of those bleach blonde, dudes giving you the action. You want to come in from a nice redhead.
Well, you got to remember also that if you go online and you look for the really, really hidden gems of Magic, you'll find out that Chandra's slam piece is Liliana, and that is really what gets you.
Exactly, and when I'm playing a game of Magic, that's what I want. I want to know that my 2 cards are not only going to work together, but they're going to be intimate with each other. They're going to, do the nasty in closets and on the floor and, on top of tables. That's the kind of thing that's really crucial to the game of Magic, is making sure that your cards get as intimate as possible, get to know each other, get to feel each other.
I gotta agree. I think that lure is so important, and in this case, we're being lured by boobs and ass, and there's nothing better than tits and ass. I'm sorry.
I would have to agree. I mean, sometimes it's important to to focus on where you're going to place, but it's also important to make sure that you got something good to look at, because you don't want to look at something that's got the bleach blonde hair and no breasts and a penis. Those are things that you want to avoid when you're picking out cards to play.
Well, I think it comes down to who you're playing with, though. You got to remember, certain people like Abram, you may have heard of him. He's a really, really talented player coming out of Chicago, and he really only wants to play with Jace. He wants to play with Jace in different forms, actually, in different mana costs, and in many cases by himself and with the lights turned off. So it really comes down to your playstyle.
I mean, I don't really understand that, because, again, it goes back to that, drawing cards, and I don't understand why you would want to draw cards, especially if you tend to insert them into places to be a part of some sort of love ritual you have with, again, bleach blonde. I mean, his hair. I mean, who bleaches anything anymore, and he has an opportunity to interface with, a card that it's better, when you put it onto the battlefield, because it's going to get that damage right when you play that card, as opposed to, drawing a card and hoping that card is going to do something, in the late game. And that to me, and not to mention, I mean, the Poo-Tang, those are the things that you're really after when you're making your decision for your deck. And I can see Brennan agrees on this one.
It's hard.
Definitely.
It's hard to
I'm
disagree.
speechless.
It's hard to disagree. I mean, at the end of the day, if your deck doesn't look good, you can't ever be on a feature match. So if it's not fully foiled Japanese, they don't care what your record is.
Exactly. You need to have the money. You need to have the bitches, and the decks that I build, they focus on both of that. They've got the money, they've got the bitches, they've got the damage, and that's what's going to defeat your opponent. Your opponent can't do anything if you've got an army of bitches and an army of monsters going at him. All he's going to do is sit in the corner. He's going to be, thinking about, oh my God, she's so hot. Well, he's getting like pounded by all the monsters and loving it.
Well, that's just it. I mean, and it's not just the bitches. I mean, these are Japanese variant foil bitches. Okay, I mean, like, you make something foil and it's just hotter, and then you make it Japanese and it's like, oh my God.
They do the kinky shit. It's a fact. In fact, if you look at the flavor text at the bottom of the Japanese foil Chandra that's in Steve's deck, it actually says, "I do the kinky shit."
It's actually kinky shitsu. But I mean, yeah, I mean
it's crucial. I mean, you're not going to get that out of the standard American. You got to go Japanese to get them to do the things that they would not normally do. Once you're into the Japanese, there's no limit. I mean, they have no self-respect, no self-control. They'll do pretty much anything to make sure that they're in your deck.
Not only that, but they want to make sure they stay there.
Exactly. They've got that focus. They're going to take care of you. They're not going to leave the kitchen except for when you tell them to come over here and take out your opponent. And I can't say it enough. That is the most important thing for my cards and for my lady.
It's a good life lesson. All the beginners watching, please take note.
Absolutely. If you're listening, make sure you know that. You got to treat your women the way you treat your cards. You got to just slam them down, and you got to make them do exactly what you need them to do. Because if you're not doing that, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you really have to put them in protective sleeves and shuffle them a lot. Is also really important.
And I really personally would recommend that you bend them a little bit. It really does put character.
Yeah, they're not going to learn anything if you don't apply those basic essentials to them. And then you're going to have a well played out, well working, machine basically that you can just slam down whenever you need to.
And in some cases, at instant speed.
Exactly, and instant speed. Let's go into that. Like, there when you need it, and that's what you can depend on. You can't depend on that from the Jaces of the world, but you can depend on that from the Chandra. She's going to give it to you, she's going to give it to you fast, and she's going to give it to you when you want it. That's what her Blaze is about, that's what her Phoenix is about, giving it to you as fast as she can.
And you talk about card advantage, and if you really want to show real card advantage, you can run her a Blaze version and really show off that awesome card advantage.
I mean, exactly. That's the kind of thing that you can't miss out on. I mean, if you're not paying attention to these things, you're gonna end up with a Jace behind you doing whatever he feels like. And is that the kind of situation you want to be in?
I can't say it's somewhere I want to be. No.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, then you feel like less of a man, I mean, some people will go for that whole, not quite man, but maybe, maybe they're into the guy who'll suck things no matter what. But, that's still just not quite the same. You want somebody who's subservient. You want somebody who's going to get the job done quickly, do what you want, make it just exactly the way you need to, and deliver that damage every time you need it. And you're going to get that in Chandra.
Well, and you got to think, the last thing you want to do is slam the Jace and have him turn around and say, "I'm going to fate seal you." I mean, that's scary.
I don't want my fate being sealed by something like Jace.
No, definitely not.
No, that's going to be the end to most situations.
And I've heard arguments from Green players recently talking to me about needing to go into Garruk. And if you pay attention, after he shoots something, he turns black. And wow. That I'm not from the hood, I'm not from the ghetto, I don't need that.
Yeah, you want to talk about some racial profiling there? There you go. You got a big man just out of prison. What's he do? First thing he's got to do, go out and shoot somebody. That way he can prove his blackness. Is that really the message that we want to be sending? Is a message of violence and hatred? Then that's the kind of thing these players want to support. They want to support that message of violence, that message of hatred. They want to run around just shooting things as soon as they get out.
And you know what? Why is he shooting stuff and turning black? It's for a woman.
Exactly, and not even for a good woman. I mean, not that I want to, drop Liliana any pegs, but I mean, come on now. He's such a big man, and he knows she's in it for the poo-tang. She's not in it for the dong. So why would he even try?
I mean, the tattoos are nice. Don't get me wrong. I do like the tattoos.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just recently she had like a thing where she had them removed and then unremoved, and then she lost all that weight after the whole Dark Realms thing. And I don't know if somebody who's got like an eating disorder is the kind of chick that I really want to hang around with.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can completely understand that, especially because after she lost all that weight, she's actually somewhat suicidal. She just kills herself.
Yeah, she's perpetually all about like taking herself down another peg and down and down and down. And the only time she's ever positive is when she's like getting you stuff that you don't even want. I don't want bitches bringing me fucking black. I want bitches bringing me sandwiches or the power. I don't want bitches bringing me black. If I wanted bitches bringing me blacks, I'd play Sorin.
Well, let's not go into that, because if you're playing Twilight, the card game, we need to talk.
Oh, I hate all those Twilight players. And there's so many more of them. There's so much of this, like, just playing Twilight all over the place. You see it in Modern.
I don't want to cut you off here. I don't want to cut you off. But we have a great piece of commentary coming out of our chat. And I'd like to give a shout-out here to Bacon. Because that is fantastic. I really appreciate having really good commentary coming out of the amateurs. It's really nice to see.
Well, yeah, it's important to always remember Bacon, because if you don't, like, your bitches aren't gonna know what to cook. So you gotta make sure you remind people to remind their bitches Bacon, and make sure your bitch is not the kind of girl who's vegan and dietary like that Liliana, because all she's gonna do when you tell her to get bacon is she's gonna bring it back black, and that's the last thing you want is black bacon.
Well, I think the very last thing you want is your woman to be bringing you black anything, actually.
That is true. She has such a dedication. Now we are forgetting. There's another wonderful lady that does exist, and she's a little more on the upper class side. She's got the fairer colored skin. What do you think about the Elspeth? She's powerful. She brings a lot of guys with her though, and that kind of concerns me. She comes out and she's at first, the first time I saw her, she just had one guy, and then suddenly she had 3 guys just with her, and I don't really understand a lady who's like that.
Well, actually, you might enjoy this. Well, the first time you saw her, she was probably carrying a big sword, and afterwards she was still carrying a big sword, and she may have buffed up a little bit. Those guys are actually her weightlifting crew, and she's a dyke.
Oh, that would make a lot of sense, because I mean, I wouldn't really normally think that a woman could carry a sword unless she had a little bit, that masculine in her. But I hear that like she's constantly just blowing things away. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely, all the time. What's crazy about it is she is just really, really filled with testosterone. So she doesn't really care what she's blowing. It's just she has to blow it all away.
That explains a lot of things, because I mean, I've watched her just blow the shit out of like all kinds of things with no concern, only leaving behind the dudes that she wants to keep. And that seems like reckless behavior to me.
I agree with that. You see like every picture of her, and all the ribbons on her outfit are always blowing in the wind. So I think that's probably symbology there.
That's a very good point. I would never, I didn't remember that imagery, but that is exactly correct. There's always something flowing, whether it be a cloak or some ribbons, and that's exactly symbolic of the kind of person that she is. Bring a bunch of dudes to the table and then immediately blow them.
Well, here's what you got to remember: that she is the knight of the reliquary, and the reliquary has no limit, and she definitely has no limits.
That is true.
Agreed.
Just like Garuk, she is a no-limit soldier, if you will.
Yep.
Whereas Garuk, it's more bestiality, though.
Speaking of bestiality, what about that animal man, that lion Goldmane thing? What's up with him? First he spends some time being white, then suddenly he dips himself in like blood or fire or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like back to being a pure whitey. What the hell's that about?
From my understanding, he's part of the KKK.
But I don't know. Is it like the blood ritual, or like why did he take that stint to make sure he was just tapping as many things as possible? I mean, that doesn't seem like white behavior. That to me would typically symbolize like black behavior.
No, you got to remember, he blows up all of the lands, and he does that with burning crosses.
Oh, he's okay. So he's blowing up the lands with fear, with making sure that they aren't coming back. So he dipped in the red for the fire for those crosses. Now it makes good sense, and that's why he dishes out the good damage to anything that's not his kind. He's gonna make sure it's not there. Yeah,
you got it. In fact, he's very intimidating. He will go up to somebody not like himself, and he'll say, "No, you stay tapped." It's really, really, really a sight to see.
Man, not only does he tap that shit, but he keeps that shit tapped regularly?
No, he does not tap it. He can just keep it tapped once it's tapped.
Oh, so he doesn't actually get the taps in.
Correct. He's kind of the bitch that comes by afterwards and says, try something.
Well, he has to keep his image clean. I mean, he can't just go around tapping people.
Exactly.
But if somebody else were to tap them, he's like the politician. You got to stay tapped.
Him and Ral Zarak actually go together. Ral Zarak taps them, and then he keeps them tapped.
See, now it's making some good sense. But what about this? Like, then why would he move away from this fiery judgment and go back to being just a purebred, white tiger man?
It's politics. I mean, that was the style he needed at the time. He needed a firebrand. He needed to be a maverick. But it moved away from that. I think it moved away to people wanted. Somebody who just doesn't, keep people tapped. That's just not what they want.
Well, that's what happened when he joined the Tea Party.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, more of that Tea Party politics that were brought in here by that crazy guy with the horns.
Yep. Well, no, Tamio brought it in at the very first time. She brought it from that god-awful Chinese place.
Oh, that's true. She came in and she started just tapping things, and that really got Johnny's attention because everything was suddenly tapped, and Johnny could take real advantage of that.
Yep. I really blame her for that.
Well, it's really sad to watch, like, because I mean, she's not a not looker, but she's, I might, accept some of that here and there, but she just, once she taps you, she really wants to stick around too much, and that's kind of clingy for me. Now you guys are okay with the clingy types?
I mean, she can cook, and I got no problem with that, and she knows how to read. That's a big plus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the clingy types. Any woman that wants to stick around, I'm probably gonna be for that.
Well,
from my understanding, you have some salt about women that hang around.
Well, the thing is, like, when you have those women that are just there all the time, you got big problems. They're gonna want money. They're gonna want your paper. And I mean, it seems like Tamio was just all about the paper. She's got to have them all around her at all times. She's got to be reading that paper. It's so important.
Well, the most important part, though, she also used those papers to smoke weed. And she's got some dang shit, so I've got no problem with her hanging around.
All right, well, I see we're gonna have to just not agree here on her. I mean, I'm just the clingy thing is a real big problem to me, and I mean just getting all my paper and repetitively bringing it back and but all for herself, never for me. All of it's always for her. All the paper just for her. So I can't agree. I can't agree with a bitch who's like that. I gotta have myself somebody who's gonna get the job done the way I want it, and that's again that just brings me right back to Chandra. So much as it needs to be done.
I was just gonna say, I mean, you're just a Chandra kind of guy, and that's fine. That's fine. That's definitely fine.
Yeah, I mean, she does exactly what you're looking for right now, and that's what's important, especially when she's throwing red at your opponent's face.
Exactly, and when you throw the red, they're in the red, and that's the important lesson to know. When you throw the red, they're in the red.
Agreed.
It's hard to argue with that. There's no argument against it. I've got nothing.
Exactly. And with that flawless argument, we're gonna bring this to a close right now. I know you guys are really enjoying this, but there's gonna be more of this in the near future. So bring it on back here, and we're gonna give you the hardcore scoop. I've got all the tips you need to make you into the best player, and I don't mean just in the game. I mean in the life, and that's the real game right there. Because if you're not winning the life, you're not winning the game. You know what I'm saying?
I gotta agree with you, Steve.
I gotta agree. I mean, it's about putting on the pounds, growing that neck beard, and just rolling.
Exactly. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys along with me next time.
I'm looking forward to our next meeting where we talk about why big hairy green guys are the only way to win standard.
Hey, that's a big strategy right now. We're gonna discuss that in great detail next time.
It's gonna be a great conversation. You guys have a good night.